I'm Faye Watt, and let's queer up trans rights. Nancy Pelosi defends keeping trans protections in federal hate crimes law. Former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi says she refused calls to remove transgender protections from federal hate crimes legislation, even when told it would make the bill easier to pass. In an interview with the Washington Blade, Pelosi recalled lawmakers urging her to compromise on trans inclusion. Pelosi said, quote, "People told me you can pass this in a minute if you take out trans. I said, I won't pass it in 100 years because I'm not ever taking out trans," end quote. Pelosi reflected on nearly 4 decades of LGBTQ advocacy and argued that public activism played a key role in advancing federal protections. She said, quote, "Anything that we accomplished, whether it was fighting HIV and AIDS, ending discrimination, passing hate crimes legislation, or ending Don't Ask, Don't Tell, would never have happened without outside mobilization," end quote. The longtime Democratic leader also shared that the HIV/AIDS crisis was one of the defining issues early in her congressional career after taking office in 1987. She added that the epidemic changed attitudes in many American families. She said that, quote, "When families learned that a son or daughter was HIV positive and gay, barriers started to break down," end quote. Pelosi also addressed the Stalled Equality Act, which would expand federal anti-discrimination protections for LGBTQ Americans. Despite the challenges, she said she believes the Equality Act will eventually become law. Say what you want to say about Nancy Pelosi. One, she looked really hot back in the 80s, okay? Yeah. But when folks told her to throw trans people under the bus for an easier win, she said, hell no. That's called allyship. That is an ally. You know, I mean, it's not just writing a happy pride post during this month. That is how you support the LGBTQ plus community. Everybody loves equality until it's time to risk something for it. And she was always willing to do so.
Exactly, because you know what, you can talk, but I don't look at talk, I look at actions. And she has stood her ground for us. And I really appreciate that because I've seen during this time, even in our community, people have been quick to turn their back on the trans community. Thank God for the ones that have been, you know, there for us, loyal. Yeah. But I've seen it. So this just means the world to me that I've always liked her, but now I like her even more. You know?
Well, I think that there's special props to go to people who have been fighting the fight from the 80s. Yeah. You know, because I mean, I remember I was around in the 80s and like...
Oh, what were you, 2 years old?
Yeah. But he was around, right?
No, I was born in the 70s. But I just remember how taboo it was back then. And if anybody voiced support for gay people, it was like the Christian organizations... what was her name? The one with the pie in the face.
Anita Bryant.
Yeah, like all those people. I mean, like you got such backlash. Just Ellen in the late 90s.
Wow, yeah.
Like, you know, just saying she was gay. Her character was like canceled a show.
Ended her career for that time. Yeah.
And so for people to be standing so hard for the LGBTQ plus community back in the 80s and like writing for them, it's like those people really understood what it was like to get arrows just slung at them, and they still stood in the face, you know, and said, no, I'm not backing down. So special props to people like her and Bernie Sanders and those who are always on our side to help us be able to walk in public today.
Yeah. So, okay, we all know I kind of love politics a little bit. So can I get into the weeds and talk about how this will still move forward? I don't think anybody a few years ago would have blamed her if she had taken out trans and gotten what you could for political expediency and for the better of the good of the whole community, right? Of the rest of the community. But what she did was she said, we're not taking trans out. Because if she takes trans out and everybody else moves forward, trans moves back politically. They move to the back of the line. Now we still stand as a block. So when the political stars align, and the Democrats have all 3 chambers, or, you know, both chambers and the presidency again, we move as one. We don't have to drag trans all the way back to the front of the line. So we can say, well, we're doing it for the gays and the bis and the he and the L. We're also going to bring the T. So it really will pay benefits down the road. And we'll have to remember her again when it does finally pass.
Yeah. I love that. Well, folks, there is no other queer nonprofit media platform like this in the entire world. Support our LGBTQ stories by sharing them and subscribing to Queer News Tonight.